Okay, today we're going to talk about review bombing. I'm going to explain exactly what review bombing is because the media has their version of what they're trying to spin, but then there's the reality of it. And I talked about this during the video where I was reacting to the Kevin Smith Q&A about Masters of the Universe, and he mentioned the review bombing article that he retweeted, and then I stopped to break down exactly what review bombing is. So the media tries to portray review bombing as fans doing hate campaigns against things that they are trying to run up the bad score and make something look really bad. That's what the media wants you to believe, and they often bring Russian bots into it, toxic fans. There's kind of a bingo card that you can kind of break down about the excuses that they try and build around something. But ultimately what it comes down to is when opinions aren't going the way they want them to, they try to create this fake boogeyman and they try to blame everything on the fans. What it ultimately is an excuse, and it's a diversion from what's really going on. And this is what the media does. This is what Hollywood does. It's an excuse for Hollywood filmmakers that don't do a good job of giving a good product. And then the fans voice their displeasure through whatever means they make necessary. You give fans the opportunity to speak out. You give fans an opportunity to rate movies. You give fans an opportunity to voice their opinions, and that's all fine and dandy unless those opinions don't go the way you want them to. Then suddenly you flip the narrative to being that fans are review bombing. But why? Why is it when something like Masters of the Universe gets that type of difference, it's the fans' fault? The fans are review bombing because the fans are toxic. They're intimidated by women. They're this, they're that. That's always the excuse. This is very similar to another film called The Last Jedi, another film that the fans were completely blamed for because there's no way there could be any criticism about Rian Johnson's masterpiece according to the media. There's no way you can criticize it. It must be because they're intimidated by women. There's no way there could be that big of a difference in the audience score and the fan score without there being a coordinated campaign to show the toxic side of the fandom. So anytime there's a discrepancy like that, they love to blame the fans. Yet, let me ask you this. Whose fault is this one? Oh, wow, wait a minute. That's an all-black cast, and the critics gave it a 33%, yet the fans have it at a 94 with 5,000 verified reviews. 5,000 verified reviews. So if we're to believe the media narrative, that would mean that the critics have a hate campaign because they're intimidated by black people. Why do the critics have something against black people here? I'm really confused about that. A 94% audience score, 4.6 out of 5, with an all-black cast. And then overall audience score is a 90%, 10,000 ratings. But the critics, top critics, even drops to a 19. So all critics, 33%, top critics, 19%. 19% to 94. Why have we never heard about this critic hate campaign against black people because they had negative reviews for Shaft? But you can bet your ass that if the numbers were flipped and the critics had this at a 94 and the fans had this at a 33, you could bet your ass there would be articles written about coordinated hate campaigns against the fans. The point is that when they bring up this hate campaign nonsense, it's an excuse. It's an excuse to say, hey, we didn't do anything bad. These fans are just being hateful and negative. It's an excuse because these people don't want to take responsibility for the bad things that they do. Now, this all went back to Captain Marvel. This is when they started changing the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes because then they wouldn't let they had to make the verified scores. And I don't believe any of these scores, by the way. But if you look at the That's the audience. So this is before they did the verified ratings. This is before. So see, now you have just an overall score of 45%. But when you go to newer films like this, was it Shaft? So you have that was the verified score. So now you have a verified audience and you have the overall audience. And that changed with Captain Marvel because they wanted to try to do everything they could to protect Brie Larson. Now, you have a film like Godzilla. Now, was this another coordinated hate campaign by the media? Why were the fans so positive, yet the media, the critics, were so negative? Was there a hate campaign by the critics? See, this is where their entire thing falls apart. Now, they wanted to tell you that the only reason fans hated Captain Marvel is because it had a strong female character, and fans are intimidated by strong female characters. Or it could be because it's a bad movie. Because there's Wonder Woman back in 2017. Pretty much doesn't seem like there's a lot of toxic males there, does it? Looks like a lot of people enjoyed that movie. But this is what they do. So when you have an all-black cast, the critics give you a 33%. But the fans, the toxic fans, the fans that don't like black people, gave it a 94. A 94 puts it in the area of The Dark Knight, which shows you how well received Shaft was. Now, of course, yes, you only have 5,000 reviews versus 250,000 for The Dark Knight, but the point is 94% of all fans gave Shaft a good review. And then you have The Dark Knight, which ranks up there with things like The Empire Strikes Back, which has a 97%. Critics and fans both loved it. Critics and fans both loved that. Now, why do we see such a discrepancy with things like this? Maybe because critics have changed, and maybe most of them are in it for the message, the political propaganda, the identity politics. We see this all over the place. Things are not what they used to be. You're not going to get a time where you're going to have things like this again. It's sad but true. Also, do they just not like Denzel Washington? What's up with that discrepancy? Now, again, if that and by the way, Man on Fire is one of my favorite movies of all time. How the hell does that have a 38%? I don't know. But the point is if that was reversed and it was at 89% for the critics and a 38 from the fans, well, suddenly the fans would be toxic and they would be this, that, or the other. But it's okay when the critics have their negative score. There's no hate campaign. So the next time you see an article talking about a hate campaign, I just want you to think about something like this. Just because Masters of the Universe didn't go the way that they wanted, suddenly they're going to try to blame it on the fans. But the reality of the situation is that fans are far more trustworthy than critics are today. Once upon a time, you could trust critics. Once upon a time, you could look at Rotten Tomatoes and have a solid source of information to help you make the best decision you want for your family to go out and see a movie. Now you can't. Rotten Tomatoes has completely been compromised. It's nothing more than a gauge. It's nothing more than something to laugh at half the time. It's a meme. But when they bring this review bombing nonsense into it, you just have to understand when you hear that message, they are trying to make excuses because they have made a bad product and they don't want to accept responsibility for it. So all they want to do is blame the fans for their bad decision. That's it. You guys have a great day. Check us out on geeksgamers.com, our website. You can sign up for free, jump in the forums, have whatever discussions you want. $10 a month. You can become a premium member. That helps us with the site, that helps us grow, and it gets you exclusive access to a lot of our content. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day, and we will talk to you later.